Welcome to the RD2BE podcast. Each week we sit down with a different registered dietitian nutritionist to showcase the diversity of opportunity in the dietetics profession. Our aim is to dismantle the notion that there is a traditional career path. I'm Carl Barnes, the registered dietitian behind the scenes of RD2BE.
And I am Jenna Warnock, the RD2BE host. Our RD guests share their stories, career paths, and advice to help students like us succeed in the profession.
Hi, welcome back to the RD2BE podcast. I'm your host, Melissa, and this week we'll be chatting with Sami Hupp, a dietetic technician registered and owner of BetaCarrotTeen, where she helps busy moms prioritize their health and wellness. We'll explore Sami's journey of becoming a DTR and discuss the path that led her to starting her own business. Thanks for being on the podcast, Sami.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm really excited about this episode in particular because it's kind of a first of its kind on our series. So highlighting a dietetic technician registered. So I know before you became a DTR, you were a hairstylist. So
I was.
what inspired the transition into dietetics and going back to school?
Well, I had a manager that kept promising me false hope that she was going to make me a manager. She kept giving me training to be an assistant manager. She kept telling me that, she was going to promote me. She was giving me job duties, just, giving me the skills that I needed to become a manager. And during this time, I was also bettering myself. I was choosing a healthier lifestyle. I was a smoker, and at this point I was quitting smoking. So I had gained a lot of weight, which comes with a lot of when you quit smoking, you tend to gain weight because food begins to taste a lot better. You get that sense back. So I was transitioning to this healthier lifestyle. So, I was getting, upset with my boss because she was making these false promises with me. And I was like, I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to find a different purpose in life. I'm not moving up in this career. You're giving me this false hope. So I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to find a new path. And I found a local community college here. I live in Ohio. So I found a local community college that had a nutrition program. I knew nothing about diet techs or anything like that. I just knew that I wanted to learn more about nutrition, how nutrition worked in the body. I just wanted to know more. So I applied and I got in, and here we are.
Yeah. So, working as a hairstylist, I did that as well before in the past, and it's very stressful and it's very physically demanding. And I also went back to school after working in that industry for a few years. But there's lots of parallels with hairdressing and nutrition, the people aspect and taking care of people. So
Absolutely.
you went to the community college, so there was a technical program for DTR.
Correct.
What kind of rotations did you do? How many hours do you have to have in supervised for?
So you have to have, for a DTR, you have to have 450 hours of supervised practice.
Okay. And what were some of your rotations that you did?
I wrote it down here. I believe there was a food service rotation, there was a long-term care rotation, a clinical, a school nutrition, and then they kind of did like a mixture of a long-term care food service, a school food service, and then like there was multiple. I think that we did so many rotations just to kind of get your your foot in each rotation. Our longest one was the clinical rotation. Um, Ironically, the clinical rotation was the one that I hated the most. I said, I absolutely do not want to do clinical. That's something that I refuse to do. And I absolutely loved food service.
Mhm.
I was one of those, as they always said, I was a unicorn. I love food service.
Yeah, that's interesting. Everyone's always like clinical. I want to, you have to work in clinical, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. And if food service management, you get to work with food. And if you love cooking, can see where that would be something more enjoyable um, in the field of dietetics. So you, after you graduated, what was your career post credential DTR?
So when literally right after I graduated, I got a position in corrections. And I worked in corrections for about 3 years. Um, so I absolutely loved that job. I traveled all over the state of Ohio, traveling to multiple facilities. Um, I think at one time I had probably 5 facilities that I took on myself. So as a diet tech, you would have like the facilities, and then the RD would kind of just oversee all of the facilities. And if you had like a high risk patient, you would just kind of like send the high risk patient to the RD. They would oversee your recommendations. They would either agree with it, or they'd be like, okay, um, let's add this to it, and then they would make their recommendations and then just go on with it. And then you would continue following them because they're actually not within that facility. You are the sole practitioner in that facility, so they are outside of the facility and you are inside. They're just kind of overseeing. So I would do like full assessments. I would be screening them. I would do full educations. I would even, depending on, the nutritional status, I would do tube feeds on these patients. Um, if they had wounds, I would be making proper recommendations for them. I love doing classes for them. Like I would get 10 to 15 inmates in one class, and I would do like heart healthy educations with them or diabetes education with them. Um, I would like build like bulletin boards and stuff like that, really breaking down their nutrition, like for their commissary and stuff like that. Um, so they really appreciated it, and it was really fun. The only reason why I stopped was I became a mother, and just the traveling. I had one institution that was about a 2-hour drive there and back. So I'd have to work an 8-hour day and then travel 2 hours there and back. So just being a mother, driving, it wasn't feasible for me. Um, then after I left corrections, I went into clinical. And with clinical, I'm actually back into clinical. So it's funny that like I've been in clinical for a majority of my career, and I just laugh because that was my least favorite rotation,
Mhm.
and I'm good at it. And it it's just it was there. It was a job opening and it presented itself to me. and I took it, and here
It
we are.
probably has hours that are accommodating to you as a mother as well. Is that right?
It is. I can wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I can get home at 2:30 in the afternoon. And it kind of shifts
Mhm.
in between my husband. So we can, work between, taking care of our child. So it works well. But once again, I have my clinical job, but I did leave clinical to work with food service management because I was like, yes, I love food service. I want to do food service management because my ultimate goal was to be a food service director. But I realized that food service management was not for me.
Yeah.
I
What about it in particular was it that made you change your mind?
well, it was very stressful. I was the second shift. So I was working 10-hour shifts, 4 days a week. And it was so stressful. Just, getting all the complaints it was more from the staff. My favorite part of the day was when I would get to go up and talk to the patients, hearing the feedback from the patients, and that's when I realized that I just needed to get back and be with the patients and be in patient care. Yes, I love being in the kitchen, and ultimately, culinary nutrition will be something that will be in my future, career path. Um, because foods, like being in the kitchen, is something that I love to do, but food service management is not where I want to be. It was just, delegating, dealing with the complaints of the staff. When you are short staffed, having to, maneuver all the X, Y's, and Z's, trying to get all the moving parts into the places. And, it was not what I wanted to do.
Yeah, food service management I hear is, just even speaking to chefs that run kitchens, it's a lot. It takes a lot from you. It's a lot, but certain people certain people enjoy it very much. But you said that you are still working in food service management now, as or
No,
no?
no, I moved back into my clinical role.
Okay.
Um, so I went from clinical to food service to back into clinical, all in the same company. So I learned a lot. And so I'm not, I'm very happy with the moves that I made.
Mhm.
Um, So I can definitely take what I learned from that food service management role and, really grow from it in so many aspects in my clinical role, especially when I'm going up and talking to patients. Also when I'm, dealing with, just my diet tech team and stuff, like, putting myself in, a manager's shoes, like whenever I'm dealing with a situation, like when we're having food service situations at work. um you know our food's cold. Why is our food cold at work? We're short staffed. We're all hands on deck, situations like that, because typically the diet techs have to be, part of the food service team when we're in clinical care as well. So, you know, I can put myself in the manager's shoes at that point because I've been there. So I can tell them, well, I understand where you are and I understand where you're coming from because I've been there.
Right.
So,
And communication as well is I'm sure there's a lot of communication skills you learned in that management position too.
Absolutely.
And I know
Absolutely.
that you also are thinking of going back to school to get your bachelor's now. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, absolutely. I actually just applied for an extended education. It's nice because the company that I work for is a university, so they pay for 12 credit hours. So they're going to pay for my schooling. So that's wonderful. Um, I decided to officially start going back to school because um, if I want to move up once again, you need to have a bachelor's degree. I do not plan on becoming a RD. I just want to, further my education. Um, and by doing that, I just need, a bachelor's degree. So I plan on getting a bachelor's in health science just because where I work at, the health science degree is the only one that is 100% online. Um, I commend people that
Awesome.
can go. I could commend people who can go to school in person, but going to school um, and working full time, I have to go online. So
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's much more convenient. It works with your schedule more, especially if you have a family. And there's a lot more schools that do that now, especially after COVID. There's so many more options for second career students or non-traditional students in that way of everything being virtual, which is awesome. And that's also great that you're getting your company to it's covered with your tuition is covered through that. That's awesome. Um, and you also run a business,
I
BetaCarrotTeen.
do. As
So
if I don't do it, as if I don't do enough.
right. I think a lot of nutrition professionals are always doing way too much. But we take on way too much, but we always do it and execute it great. So Um, so tell us about beta-carotene and what inspired you to begin that business.
So I started BetaCarotene in 2020 when, the pandemic shut everything down. I was actually still working. I was actually one of the people that actually still had to go into the office because I work in a hospital. So I'm one of those people that were, mandated to go in to work. Um, but I wasn't seeing patients, so I was kind of bored. I needed something to do. Um, but moms always need more support. And this was just something that I wanted to focus on. So gearing a nutrition based business towards busy moms. They were always supporting everyone else, always taking care of everyone else, but who is supporting them? They're always putting their needs on the back burner. Trust me. We're always just like, oh, I don't need this. I don't need this. Oh, but let me buy you this. You need this. You need, you understand.
Mhm.
So I really wanted to be, a support system for moms. Um, so when they sign up for my training, we aren't just focusing on nutrition, we are focusing on self care and wellness, making sure that they are sleeping enough, that they're drinking plenty of water, that they're taking time for themselves, whether that's 5 minutes of just breathing in the bathroom with the door locked while the child is screaming on the other side because that happens.
It does.
But they're getting that 5 minutes to themselves,
hmm
and sometimes that's considered self-care,
hmm
but they're designating that 5 minutes to themselves, um, because nutrition professionals know that stress levels play a huge role in overall health. So being that support system for people can look like that sometimes. And I want to be that for them. So what inspired this was, as a mother myself, I heard that this was a need and I wanted to provide that.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, yeah, we definitely, as professionals and mothers and students, we kind of burn the candle at both ends, and you can get burnout really easily. So I think that's awesome that that was what inspired you to do that. Has it helped you, or have there been challenges with it in your roles in your daily life?
I definitely practice what I preach. I, you know, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to, try to tell somebody to do something if I'm not doing it as well. I am always trying to practice self-care. I'm always, you know, what my self-care is a 15-minute shower uninterrupted. I have been doing that since my child has been born. I That's just my personal self-care. My husband knows that when it's my shower time to leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Let me
Yeah,
go have my shower.
that's a good one. I mean, it's pretty rare. I feel like you get in the shower and you hear something and you're like ninja style bathing yourself real quick to get out. So that's a good one. And I could see, everyone's is different and tailored. So I'm sure you help people recognize what theirs would be. Um,
Yes.
and
It's just that
so,
everybody just needs that one thing.
yeah, yeah, it's everyone's different too. And the, that's the theme in nutrition. Everyone's, it's individualized. And so, as a clinical DTR and owner of BetaCarrotTeen, what's a typical day for you look like?
A typical day for me. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. Um, Very early. I have already set out my clothes and my meals have already been packed for the day. So I literally just wake up, brush my teeth, make a cup of coffee, and I let my dog out, and then I'm out the door. I'm most likely listening to an audio book or a podcast on my drive to work. And then I have to take a shuttle from the parking lot to my work. We have to pay for our parking.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm shuttled to the hospital, and as a DTR, we're pretty short staffed as diet techs because unfortunately we are underpaid as diet techs. And so nobody wants to work at my hospital. So there's just a couple of us. So we have a shared list of patients, and then we have our designated patients that we have of units. So we create our shared list of patients, which are just patients on unassigned units that we have to pull from. So we set those up first and then we set up our units. So my specialty is stroke patients, and then I also have inmates. So we have a inmate unit at our hospital. So I kind of kept with my corrections while
Yeah. Did they let
and
you fill that spot because of your background in corrections?
I specifically asked for it when I came over. Um, and then I have stroke patients, and then I have a step down trauma patient or trauma unit. So I deal with a lot of wounds and stuff like that. The trauma patients are specifically one of my favorite units. So like when we do our screening process. So our screening process is we look for patients with an MST score, which is a malnutrition screening tool. So we're looking for a score of 2 to 4, and we would add them to our list. And then if they are 65 or older, we add them to our list. And then if their Braden score is 18.5 or below, we add them to our list. And then we just build our list. And then we are on a food service rotation weekly. So if it's our food service week, after we build our list, we have to go to food service. And we're either passing trays with food service or we are selecting meals with our patients. So we just do meal selections or passing. And we do that for 2 hours. So once that 2 hours is done, then we go up and talk to all of our patients that we created that list for. And then typically by that time that we go see all those patients, our list is typically pretty long. So we're seeing between 19 to 30 patients a day.
Wow.
So it's a lot.
Yeah. We need more DTRs.
Yes. And then it's lunchtime. And then we spend the rest of our day charting our lives away. Typically during my lunch, I am either doing Facebook follow-ups for my business, or like today I was working on doing my answers for this podcast. I'm doing a natural detox challenge for my clients. So I've been doing we're doing like weekly follow-ups with that. So I'm like touching base with my clients with that. A lot of times on my lunch break, I'm touching base with my clients, or I'm doing Facebook stuff or social media stuff. I spend a lot of time because I'm actually on the clock. So I feel like, oh, I'm getting paid for this. So I spend like that hour break eating and doing business stuff as well. And then I chart, and then I go home, and then I go pick up my son. And that time is typically family time. I make sure that for like the next 2 to 3 hours is family time. And then sometimes, depending on what it is, I will have a couple of meetings because I'm part of a couple committees. I'm part of a couple of affiliate programs. So, depending on the day, I have to be on some meetings. I have to go to some programs. So, it depends on the day. There's a lot of communication between me and my husband.
Yeah.
He has a calendar that I'm linked to. So,
Yes. Schedule conflicts, like I think that's awesome. I mean, I write on a hard calendar and a digital calendar, and it's so good to have.
That's the key. That's something that I was going to talk about too.
Yes.
And so we communicate a lot about our schedules, and one thing that is consistent every night is bath, books, and bed. 7 o'clock. My son has bath time at 7 o'clock. We read books, and then he's in bed. That's consistent at 7 o'clock every nighttime. And my husband will do bath time, and then I read books, and I put him to bed because he will not go to bed with dad. He has to have mom put him to bed.
I get that.
And then
Yeah.
yeah. So after that, usually it's me and husband time, or I will catch up with business stuff, and then it's bedtime for me. And that is my day in a nutshell.
And that's Monday through Friday for you.
Yes.
Okay. And so what are tips you use to manage those responsibilities in those roles? I mean, you said calendar.
Yes. I got my handy dandy planner right here.
Yes.
I have to write everything down. And once I write it down, then it goes into the digital calendar. And my digital calendar is shared to my husband so that he has it as well. Um, he will still ask me on a daily basis, what's going on today? Because he's a man. No offense to all you men, but you know that it's true.
Yes. It just takes 2 seconds to open it and read it. And it's also satisfying if you check things off of a
Absolutely.
Google Keep has a widget and you can put it on your phone. I've used it for years and they have checklists. So you can just check physically things off the list and you can do all kinds of lists. And it's just so satisfying to do that. But I agree with the planner. I use one too. I spent like an hour looking for a new one this year for 2024. I was like reading all reviews, like which one do I get? Because it's very important.
I'm so finicky about my planners and I typically never throw them away. I save all of them. I have no idea why. And a lot of times I will buy one and then I will find one that I like again within the year and then I have to like start all over again. Uh,
Oh, wow.
it's bad. It's bad.
That's
I love
interesting.
planners so I love them so much.
Yeah, there's
there's
a lot out there.
This one I've been consistent with. I started this one in July of last year.
Okay, yeah, they do have ones that are like half year into the next half year too. I guess for marketing reasons, if you need one in the middle of the year.
Yeah. Those work well for me apparently because I've been doing really well with that one so far.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree with that. That's a great tip in managing everything. And some people even go as far as to like scheduling hours dedicated to certain things they need to do, certain tasks they need to complete. But you were mentioning about how you were involved in affiliate committees. So like academy committees, is this what you're talking about?
I am part of several committees.
Okay.
So I'm a part of the Academy Honors Committee. And then I am part of the affiliate. Okay. So you got the Academy. And then because I live in Ohio, I'm part of the Ohio Academy DEI committee. And then because I live in Columbus, I am a membership chair of our Columbus Dietetic Association. So kind
Yes.
of like
Awesome.
I'm kind of in several different affiliates.
Yeah, there's different levels, like state, national. That's awesome.
Yeah. So national, state, and then local.
And so what is the Academy Honors Committee?
So the honors committee is they oversee all of the honors and awards. So currently, well, we just had Marie just had me on the NDTR Spotlight podcast where I talked about the honors committee. So we oversee the awards and honors nominations. So we meet 4 times a year. And this is like a volunteer. So you volunteer your time and the nominations are open currently and they close. When does the deadline to admit your nominations are March 1st? So they're still open and there's several awards that you can apply and nominate. So you can nominate or be nominated for. So if you're interested in nominating or
What are a couple
self-nominating,
of the awards?
I got a list for you right
Okay,
now.
awesome.
You have Distinguished Lecture Award, Excellence in Practice Awards, Honorary Membership, Honors and Awards Recipients, Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access, so IDEA Promotion Award, Lifetime Achievement Award, Medallion Award, oh my gosh, Medea. Why am I saying Medea?
She's a great character.
Media, yeah. Excellence Award, Outstanding Nutrition and Dietetics Technician Registered Award, and President's Circle Nutrition Education Award. So that's why Marie brought me onto NDTR Spotlight, because I wanted to shine light on the Outstanding NDTR Award, because nobody was awarded that last year. So
Were there any nominations for the award, or?
I don't believe that there was. This is my first year on this committee, but when I came on, they were saying that, there wasn't anybody that like was nominated for it. And I was like, it is my mission to make sure that somebody is nominated and awarded this year. So I am making it known.
Yeah, that's crazy that I just don't think that there's enough coverage on NDTR. So hopefully, this will help spread the word too.
Absolutely. But yeah, so we actually review all the nominations. So once all of these nominations come in, we are actually going to be reviewing all the nomination packets, and then we will be the ones to decide the award winners. So like if I knew one of the diet techs that were awarded, then I would actually that were nominating, then I would have to remove myself from that, or so
Conflict of interest or
yep.
bias.
And
Okay,
I'm okay with that. If that happens,
yeah,
if that happens, I would be okay with that.
right, exactly. It's because you're ethical. So,
Yeah.
and
I hope that happens actually, because I'm like rooting on everybody, like, come
yeah,
on, apply.
yeah. Where can people go to nominate and apply for the awards?
You can actually go to eatright.org, and it's just the National Honors and Awards page. So if you literally just Google eatright.org honors and awards, it will pop right up, and it's right there. It tells you how to submit your honors nominations.
Awesome.
Yes.
And you're speaking in April at an affiliate conference, shedding light on the new scope for NDTRs and their role in leadership. So what are the key points you plan to address in this conference? Which is awesome too. Congrats on doing that. That's awesome that you're speaking about this.
Thank you. My mission really is to champion for NDTRs, and secure recognition for NDTRs, just to get the recognition that we deserve, because we really need to shed light on diet techs and what we really do, what we're capable of. That's why I'm out here doing what I'm doing. You would be surprised how many registered dietitians that I meet that have no idea what a diet tech is.
Yeah. And again,
They're like, what?
Right. And I know that there's a lot of students that don't know either. And I feel like they should. So
I'm like, but you're a dietitian. I thought that they teach you what a diet tech is. I'm like, I'm literally built to help you.
Mhm. Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what I am? So um the key points of my speech is to understand what a diet tech is and what our credentials are, our evolving scope of practice, the role in leadership, the leadership opportunities and the benefits of diet techs, and then the challenges that we face in leadership. And then I have reached out to a couple of diet techs, and I have their success stories in leadership as well. And I'm actually taking this speech and I'm going to turn it into a proposal for Fancy for 2025.
Awesome.
So I'm hoping to say that this will be presented in Fancy in 2025 in Nashville. So fingers crossed.
Very cool. Um, that's awesome. Yeah, I wish you good luck on that. That's so cool. I also didn't know it was going to be in Nashville. So, um, um, so to close this out, what advice do you have for second career students or individuals that are non-traditional students, returning to school, especially those that have or may have families?
Well, I know that when I first went back to school, I was working 2 jobs, and I was going and I was going to school full time, and I thought that I was and I felt and I thought that I was crazy, but, I managed and I did this, and, the biggest thing was time management and being organized, and, I mean, that's what my biggest advice is.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to organize yourself and how to manage your time. If obviously, or I'm gonna assume that you're gonna be working, um, and if and I'm you got to figure out your time slots with your works, and then your time slot with your schedule, with your schooling, and write it down. Get yourself a planner. Buy yourself a planner on your cell phone. Get one of them fancy ones. Don't just use your Google calendar. No, get one of them fancy ones that tell you what your class is, and you gotta get one of them fancy ones.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I agree with that. Time management and also just helps. I mean, not everyone can do that, but helps if your job is, flexible with your
Absolutely.
schedule.
Sit down and talk to your manager.
Yeah.
Tell them, what your goals are, and, be straight up with them.
And it
I'm
may turn into an opportunity for, tuition reimbursement or something.
absolutely. I'm I'm lucky that I work for a university, and they're like, "Yeah, go to school. We'll work with you no matter what." And I'm like, "Thank you." And I know that not everybody's like that, but as long as you're open with your employer, talk to them, tell them what your goals are, be upfront with them. And communication. Communication is going to be a big one. Um, I know that as a former manager, that was one of my biggest things was just communicate with me. And that's what made me the happiest. As long as you communicate with me, I'm going to work with you.
Yeah,
So,
I agree with that. Do you have anything else you would like to add to today?
no, I think we covered my entire life today.
Awesome. Well, I think that this will be really good for um, a majority of our audience, and I definitely feel a lot of parallels with your life and mine, and just mother, student, career changes. So I think that this will be great for other students in our shoes.
Did we just become best friends?
Maybe. What's your sign?
I'm a Gemini.
I'm a Leo.
Maybe not.
That's so great. All right. Well, thank you for being on the podcast. And thanks for chatting with us.
All right. Thank you for having me.